Throughout the Seder, we are introduced to different rabbis who join us to offer their teaching and understanding of what's required to actually have a Seder. Right now, we're at Rabban Gamliel, who says to us that anyone who doesn't explain the Pesach, Matzah, and the Maror has not fulfilled the obligations of the Seder. And so what are these three things? We have our shank bone, our Maror, and our Matzah. Now, of course, I'm not using them properly right now, but on the Seder, they'll be on our Seder plate laid out very nicely for us to then point at and explain. So for the first one, we say, what is the Paschal Lamb? And we would point, but not raise, according to this Haggadah at least, the Passover lamb. Pesach al Shumma. The Passover lamb, why did we used to eat it? To remind ourselves that God passed over our ancestors' houses in Egypt at this very hour on this very date. Moses has already instructed us, when your children ask you, what do you mean by this ceremony? You shall say it is the Passover offering to Adonai, because God passed over the houses of Israel in Egypt when God struck the Egyptians but saved our houses. Next we get to the matzah. And so everyone holds up matzah. We hold up our matzah. Hopefully yours will be out of the box by now. Matzah al shumma. This matzah, why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors in Egypt had time to rise and become leavened, the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be God, revealed God's self and redeemed them. The Torah says they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. And finally, everyone raises Maror from the Seder plate. I thought this one was very appropriately shofar shaped. Maror al shum ma. This maror, why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that the Egyptians embittered our ancestors' lives. They embittered their lives with hard labour, with mortar and bricks, and with all sorts of field labour. Whatever the task, they worked them ruthlessly.